Welcome to the Epic Man Podcast, where we let our curiosities and theories run wild and sometimes talk relevant news. I'm Josiah, and with me, my friend and co-host, the one and only, because there is only one, the singular, Michael. How are you doing today, Mike?
I am doing fantastic. I'm looking at my screen right now, and there's you, and there's me, and that's it. And it is making my day.
I mean, especially since you literally had to hang out with Ben all day yesterday.
Yeah, all day. Yep.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and then the week before that,
he was literally like sitting right next to you all
day for what was it? Well, it was a minimum of 8 hours, but it was more like 10 or 12 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the week before that, I was around the guy for even longer.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's been rough, man.
Yeah, it's been a big yikes moment for my life. It's taken a terribly sad trajectory where I spend most of my waking hours around Ben.
And then Ben decides that he's not going to show up again.
Yeah.
To the podcast.
Ben just bailed again.
Again, as he usually does, you know. It seems like this is a recurring theme here. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, listen, he'll be right there if I ever miss a day, like, oh, my daughter's in the hospital or I broke my leg or anything.
Yeah.
He'll be real quick to be like,
oh, yeah,
inexcusable that Mike is not here. Michael should be here. I'm always here. I'm always faithful. And then he's just like, bro, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Bro, I can't.
And it could have worked. It could have worked. We could have made it work.
Yeah.
But that's fine.
Hey, listen, the people that want to be here are here.
That's right.
And that's what's important. Listen, we're here for you people. We love you.
Yeah.
Ben doesn't love you. Ben's love is fickle.
Do not trust Ben's love.
Don't trust Ben's love. That's why he's not married yet.
Yeah. Yep. He keeps thinking he is, and he keeps telling you that he is, but well, we know the truth.
American people.
We know the truth.
It's fake news.
You know, sometimes you see Ben with the ring on his finger and stuff. That ring it's not a real wedding ring.
It's not a real ring.
He got it from like one of those machine. Yeah, one of those candy machines. Put 25 cents in, pop it out, slip it on your finger. And he's like, oh, I'm married. Look at this.
I'm married. Did you know that? Mirror. And you're like, no, you're not, dude. Stop. Yep. It's
nobody put a ring on that finger yet. Let me tell you.
Nobody liked it, so nobody put a ring on it.
Nope. And he can't get any of the single ladies. So,
to be fair, I'm married and I don't wear a ring either. But you know,
yeah. Well, we know you're married though. We all know that you're married.
Yeah, everybody knows.
Yeah,
nobody can confirm that Ben is married at all. Nobody.
Yeah, nobody.
Him.
Yeah,
nobody. Yep.
And
it is what it is.
You know what? Actually, this doesn't even make any sense because I'm literally bringing it up right now. But I was gonna say, and guess what? We don't have to hear about the giant sloth at all this week. But
you just brought it up,
and I just brought it up.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's just it's not going to be a weird thing where somebody just like hard segues it in the middle of us talking about important things. You know,
talking about I don't know.
Yeah. Solar winds and how awesome space is, and Ben's like, well, you know, the megatherium is a freaking sloth that died. You're like, that's a thing. That is, thanks, Ben.
You know those solar winds? You know who really liked those solar winds? The giant sloth.
The giant sloth. He thinks it's so cool. Yeah, listen, you know, I don't have to listen to crazy hot takes like the live action version of Aladdin's better than the animated.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or Game of Thrones season 8 is amazing.
Yeah. Nope, none of that craziness.
Yeah.
Listen, we're here for your viewing and listening pleasure, and Ben is not here because Ben wants your lives to be sad.
Speaking of horrible things that Ben really, really likes and loves and thinks is absolutely incredible, Mortal Kombat is one of those things. The new Mortal Kombat movie, Ben loved it. And I can confirm because I went and watched it with Ben. And after the movie and stuff, he was basically just gushing all over it and loving everything about it. And I was just like, you know what, Ben? I don't know. I don't know if I really feel that way. And the more I think about it,
Huh.
the more I hate it. so, what are your thoughts about Mortal Kombat, Michael?
Yeah. So you know, I made an interesting call. That was a door shutting in my room. I made the decision to not go see it in theaters. I often go with my gut on things, and I had a gut feeling that I didn't want to spend money on this movie, and that's sad because I want to support the theater, but get out and support your local theaters. It's important. But yeah, I didn't want to do that, and I was like, I'm just gonna wait till I'm at home. One night I was just chilling on the couch. I was like, I want to put on Mortal Kombat. So I'm relaxed. I'm chill. I have nothing pressing to do. I'm like, let's crank this movie out. And I hated like 95% of this movie. There is like one scene for those of you, because I'm sure there are people that are listening that haven't seen it yet and maybe want to go see it. There is like one scene in the third act of the movie that I think works really well and was really cool. There are like two characters that I'll say three characters, even though one of them is barely a character, that are great. Like three really good characters that are awesome. Loved seeing them, loved seeing what they did, loved watching them interact with people and interact with things, and loved all of that and loved their fights. But yeah, everything else about this movie is just not good.
Yeah, it's a shame. It really is, because they could have done something really cool with this movie. And the thing is that, like, there it was such a disappointment because, like, not even the fights are great,
No.
And if you can't even get the fights right, then what's the point of Mortal Kombat?
All anybody's wanting to do is watch you do like brutal, violent fights.
Yeah.
And if you're, I am not quick. I don't like to just judge people outright. I don't like to just crap on people as a whole, or be like, oh, well, blah blah blah. But like, as a writer, if you're going to add something to the story, or if as a director, if you're going to add like a different idea to the story, like the core concept, it's a fighting game. Like, the fight should be the focal point. And if you're going to add little things like to flesh out characters and give backstory and stuff, I get it. That's fine. But like, don't make the mistake like kaiju movies do of going, hey, here's like 16 human characters and Godzilla's on the screen for like 4 minutes of the whole 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. People don't want to see that. People want to see your kaijus. People want to see Mortal Kombat. They don't even have to be long fights, but
you
want to see good fights.
Make them good.
Yeah. The fight editing was terrible. The choreography at times was okay to bad.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it was good. Like, there was some, like I said, there's a real solid fight at the very beginning of the movie. Like, the first like 10 to 15 minutes of the movie, I was enjoying it. I was on it. And I was like, oh, this isn't as bad as I thought.
Literally the best part of the movie is the first like 5 to 10 minutes of the film. So,
and then that's it. Like, and then the movie just takes a huge nosedive, and then it very late spikes for a moment, and then the end, then it just ends badly.
Yeah,
like,
because
real bad.
Yeah, I mean, like, going into the movie and before we started to get into some of the bigger fight moments towards the second half of the film, I was like, okay, this movie is it's not that great, but I can forgive it if we get to the point where some of these fights show up and they're bone crunching and brutal, and they're just like, really taking me into the moment. And then we started to get into some of the fights, and I'm like, what is going on right now? What are these fights right now? I've seen better fights in all sorts of movies, like Marvel movies, like Captain America Winter Soldier has more brutal fights than some of these fights and stuff. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here?
No,
it's
absolutely.
Mortal Kombat, we're supposed to see violence. I want to see blood and I want to see bones snapping and cracking and doing all sorts of stuff. And, like, some of the fatalities were okay. Like, there was one really, really good fatality that was like the first one that they showed, and I was like, okay, that is awesome. What they did with it was great. If the fatalities are awesome, maybe I'll like the movie a little bit more.
Nope.
and then the rest of the fatalities were just kind of like, okay.
Yeah. The closest I get to like the second coolest one in the movie. Could have been way cooler. They just kind of didn't do enough.
Yeah.
They didn't take it as far. Yeah. Well, and that's really sad because like if you watch the 1995 version, it's PG-13. And that's sad because you obviously want a super violent, brutal movie.
Yeah.
Like it's PG-13 and it's still, the fights are better, way more brutal, and like way better choreographed than the crap that we got in this movie.
Which is super sad. That is,
yeah, it really is.
Wow. That's bad.
And also, like, I'm gonna be real honest here, like, and this is not a knock on MMA fighters at all, like, because it's not, because MMA fighters are serious fighters. These guys are awesome and stuff, but it feels extremely tone deaf to say like, oh, this guy's an MMA fighter. So like, you know, one of the main characters, the main character of the movie, is a completely made up character just specifically for this movie, and is like, oh, look at, he's a MMA fighter, you know, because MMA is like trendy and stuff, you know, but
yeah,
MMA fighting can be a lot of things. Like there, you know, some of these guys are, you know, proficient wrestlers. Some of these guys are proficient boxers. Some of these guys are Muay Thai fighters. Some of these guys, you know, are kickboxers, you know, jujitsu, karate, you know, all kind of Tang Sudo, like all of these things, like, you know, they all have different backgrounds. So just to say like MMA just feels like a super like weak kind of blanket statement. To say like, oh, he can fight because he does MMA. I'm like, listen, I know people that have like very little fight training that do MMA. I know guys that like literally took like 2 months of boxing classes and thought that they could get in the cage and fight with somebody. Like, I'm not saying that that's what everybody does, because I really do have a ton of respect. I have friends that do MMA and have done MMA and worked really hard and trained really hard. So I just want to put that out there. I'm not taking a shot at MMA fighters, but it just feels kind of like pretty weak. It's like low hanging fruit for like a writer to be like, oh, he's an MMA fighter.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, okay, what kind of training does he have? Like that doesn't, you know, and not only that, but he's not even a good MMA fighter. Like he loses all the time. Like literally, slight spoiler, but not really a spoiler. You watch the main character of this movie get his ass handed to him. For like 90% of the movie. And I don't just mean like he eventually stops. What I mean is he gets his ass handed to him. He has a couple moments where he kind of comes out on top. And then the rest of the movie, he just gets his ass handed to him more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, literally,
The problem with the main character in a lot of ways was the story was happening to him, and he wasn't really like, he wasn't carrying the story at all in this movie.
Yeah, he's a very passive protagonist.
Yeah, and he was just really like, they didn't give him enough. Like he just felt like he was just kind of there in a lot of ways. And you know, if you're going to make up a completely new character to carry the Mortal Kombat franchise, it has to be a freaking good character. It better be a freaking good character. So what's that one movie called? That one like, I think it's an MMA movie, the Warrior or something like that.
It's called Warrior.
Warrior
with Tom Hardy and Joel Edgerton.
Really good movie.
So that's like, anybody listening that has not seen this movie, Warrior, honestly, I think it's one of the greatest movies I've ever seen in my entire life.
It's so good.
It's so phenomenal. Like I remember seeing something about it and I was like, I think I got it for like $5 at a Family Video. Like it was like in a bargain bin. And I was like, oh, I like Tom Hardy and I like Joel Edgerton. So I brought it home. Me and my wife sat down and watched it, and by the end of the movie we were both in tears, and the movie is amazing. So good. It's just so solid. And it's definitely an MMA movie. I mean, it's about fighting and stuff like that, but it reminds me of like it has like the same kind of heart as like Rocky, you know, or some of these other like fighting movies and stuff. Just, oh my gosh, it's so good. It's like, seriously, it's one of my favorite movies. It's criminally underrated, got like almost no acclaim for anything, but it's so good. So good. So good. It's phenomenal.
And you know, things like that and things like Rocky and some of these other movies, they're testaments to show that like you can take a fighting story and make it good, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if your fights are going to be crappy in your movie, like in Mortal Kombat, then at least try to make up with it with a good story.
Yeah, you know? One or the other.
Yeah.
Like it'd be like, hey, we're not a fight choreographers, so we didn't do the fights weren't as good as we hoped.
Yeah.
But like, the story is really solid. I want to see what else comes of this.
Yeah.
Like what it feels like is there's hope. Like for me personally, I'm holding out hope that there's a sequel because I hope that they do better than they did the first time around because this first one sucks. But then my feelings on it are always going to be, damn, like if the second one is phenomenal, like let's say the second one's significantly better than the first, I'm always going to look back and go, well, I'm not going to watch the first one to get to here.
Yeah.
Or I wish they wouldn't have done the first movie. I wish they would have just done this movie, you know, and that already is a sad thing. You know, I don't know. I feel like there was a lot of really weird choices. I didn't like most of the cast in this movie.
No, they were pretty bad. I mean, even just from an acting standpoint, they weren't that great. There was a lot of there was a couple people that were like really solid. Like Josh Lawson, who played Kano, was really good. He did a fantastic job. I'm trying to think of some of the other people. He was really the only one that actually like really stood out to me. There were a couple other people that were like okay, but the majority of the cast, they just weren't that great. Like
no, I really enjoyed. I got to make sure I get his name right because I'm gonna feel bad if I butcher his name because he's wow, Hiroyuko Sanada.
Oh yeah, Scorpion.
Sanada. Who played Scorpion. He already is a phenomenal actor. Like, that guy has a really great repertoire of movies. He was good.
He was really
in the
good.
Movie.
Exactly.
Barely
That's
in the
problem.
Film. Like they barely used their best guy. I mean, because like he's in the opening of the movie and everything. And
amazing.
It's phenomenal.
Carried that opening so great. It was. He
sets a beautiful tone, and then you don't see him again for the rest of the freaking movie till like the very end. And I'm like, what? Like, why did you wait so long?
Yeah.
You know, the guy that played Sub-Zero, I thought did like an okay job.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't terrible. He wasn't.
He just was like the writing for him was just not that great. I think.
No.
Like.
Because he kind of just does like he walks around doing the mustache twirling villain. Like,
exactly.
I'm the bad guy, and you're like,
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's, it's funny because after, I watched, watching the first Mortal Kombat from 1995. I loved it as a kid. It was super fun. The effects don't hold up today, but like the fighting is still awesome, and like a lot of the acting and the actors and stuff, they own their roles. Like I loved Sonya, I loved Liu Kang, I loved Johnny Cage. Like everybody was doing their best, and they were really bringing the heat, like in these movies. And obviously, Annihilation is a crap storm. But to be honest, I get more enjoyment out of watching Annihilation than I do this movie. Because at least with Annihilation, I can laugh at how stupid it is. This new Mortal Kombat wasn't even like that entertaining. Like every scene with Kano in it is great, and I will like laugh at him. But I just rather go on YouTube and watch a compilation of Kano talking.
Yeah, exactly.
To watch this again. I honestly, truly would rather go watch Annihilation and be disappointed, but also laughing at how bad it is, than to go watch this movie again.
Well, at least then you're getting something out of it from yourself, at least you're getting like some humor from it or some entertainment from it. Like this movie just didn't offer up much of anything. Like I just felt like I was just kind of there just watching and being like, oh, okay, whatever.
It's like, okay. Like, there's even, so now we're getting into spoiler territory. So if you just like skip the next 30 seconds if you want to hear spoilers, because I don't want to spoil anything, but this is something that's kind of a pet peeve of mine, and I forgot that this happened, but now I realize it. So like 3, 2, 1 spoilers. Kano in his fight with Sonya at the very end gets murdered by a garden gnome. Just a garden gnome gets jammed through his eye, and it's enough to kill him. Apparently earlier in the movie he mentions that he's scared of garden gnomes, or like that he's terrified of garden gnomes. And really? I forgot that he said that line, but apparently he does. He says something about it. So like that was even the writer's way of trying to like foreshadow something. I don't know. Like that's what I'm saying. Like
I remember him like spitting on the garden gnome or whatever.
Yeah, but I think he said something about being scared of him or being freaked out by him or something. Yeah.
That's just like that's like the worst poetic justice I've ever seen in my life.
No, absolutely. Yeah, like no, I 100% agree. Like
were they trying to be like smart? Like were they trying to be like clever with that or something? Like
they must have. They tried to do a callback or something. Because even in that fight, like Kano isn't an idiot. He's obviously
Yeah.
like a solid fighter, and he obviously is like a brutal murderer.
Yeah.
And like he's fighting Sonya, and like the very end, they literally do like one of the most stereotypical tropes. He has her in like this super weak chokehold, and she's like, and he's like, oh, you know, dialogue, 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 monologue,
Yep.
monologue, villain, villain, monologue. And she's
Yep.
like, oh, I'm reaching for something, and he's like, probably won't pull you away from whatever you're trying to grab. And she's like, okay, guard gnome in the eye. And I'm like,
Yep.
what? Like, that's just
Horrible.
sloppy. Just
Yeah,
terrible.
it's just so bad.
Like, I don't know. It's just like, what if she can't reach anything? Does she just die?
Yeah, right.
Just, like, Sonya loses. Like, I don't know.
Just dies by a chokehold.
Yeah, just gets killed by a chokehold. Yeah. Well, they even like have Lizard in this film, Reptile in this film, and Reptile isn't even like good. Reptile's like a ninja in the other movie. Like he actually, well, like obviously the original like Mortal Kombat, like Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Reptile, they're all the same skin with just different colors.
Yeah,
but
right. Yeah.
Like it wasn't enough to make people not like the games.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like Reptile shows up and he's like a giant lizard, and you're like, oh, but Reptile's not a giant lizard. He's a dude with like reptile powers.
It was so weird.
It was weird, dude. It didn't make any sense.
Like, why couldn't they have just done him as like a dude? You know, like what's the point of making him a lizard?
Yeah, and he like spits acid like twice. And then he just forgets to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Like at one point, like Kano's like directly in his face with like a weapon, and he's like, wah! And the lizard's like, I mean, I could try to bite him. And I'm like, yeah, but you also have acid breath that you just spit and like melted a dude with. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You have limited amounts of this like acid breath. Yeah.
Oh man. And then there's the whole like Cole Young, you know, versus Goro fight, which was just like horrendous in so many ways as well. Like,
yeah, well,
there were so many things that they could have done with that would have made that fight better, and they pretty much missed every opportunity that they had to make it actually a decent fight.
Yeah.
You know, everything from, you know, there's a lot of like weird women empowerment moments right there and stuff, and like his daughter was like, use the uppercut, dad. Like that was one of the worst, cringiest things I've ever seen. And they also try to do like a clever foreshadow with that too towards the beginning of the movie, and then they try to give it a payoff with that, and it was just like
trainer. Yeah, he says something crap about his daughter's his trainer, and I'm like, well, that's why you lose all your fights, bro. Like what are you doing? Yeah, no, it's weird. It just didn't make any sense. And I don't know, like, it's funny because like it's kind of cringe in the first movie, like Johnny Cage fights Goro, but like you watch Goro like murder and murk like a bunch of dudes, and like he's obviously like an animal. Like, you know, this dude's no shit. Like, and Johnny beats him by like punching him in the ball sack. I mean, which was unexpected, but you're just like, oh, okay, like, all right, you beat Goro by punching him in his big old balls, like, and then, you know, but like,
Goro basically just punched him in the chest the whole time and didn't decide to go for the head at all. Apparently,
never.
But
then in this one, like Goro just kind of shows up, and they're like, "Oh, Prince Goro, how are you?" And he's like, "I'm doing pretty good. I'm gonna fight this MMA fighter, chump." And then Cole gets like, instead of like him just grabbing Cole and like ripping him in half, he's just like throw, grab, throw, grab, throw, like they do in all these movies. I'm like, is that your only move? Is like you pick up a person and throw them across the room? Because like I just watched you do a different move to somebody else, and it was great. Yeah,
you literally could rip this guy in half if you wanted to.
And he just won't. And then like,
then his wife chops him, and he's like, oh no, what am I gonna do?
Weak swing of an axe to your side, and he's like, oh, I've been hit. And I'm like, pop her husband's skull off, throw it at her, and she'll probably die too.
When I was when that whole moment was happening and stuff, I was like, okay, this could have been like a really tragic moment that could have taken the story to a deeper level if Goro had actually killed his wife and daughter there or something. Like that would have, like, I thought that was actually going to be the trigger for him to like gain his his like superpowers or whatever, his metal skin thing, whatever, metal suit, whatever it is, and sticks. And so so I thought that was what they were going to do. I thought that they were going to have Goro kill his wife, or at least his wife, maybe not his daughter, but his wife at least. And that was going to be like the thing that made him just suddenly like explode into his super ability or whatever and stuff. I was like, okay, that could have been a cool moment. That could have actually given the story a little bit of a, you know, a little bit of a nudge into a deeper direction or something.
Yeah.
but they didn't do any of that either.
Yeah, no. No, they did nothing like that. And
this movie was just super safe too. It was just weird, dude. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I don't know. It did. Yeah, super safe is a good way to put it. It's just weird. I don't know. It's just super soft and super cringe, and just didn't feel like a passion project. It kind of felt like this guy wanted to tell his own story, but use the backdrop of Mortal Kombat. And like, I get you have a smaller budget, and so you got to like make things work. But like, dude, I'm not even like, seriously, go on YouTube and look up Mortal Kombat Legacy. These guys had a shoestring budget and did some phenomenal work. I mean, like the stuff with Scorpion and Sub-Zero, like they fleshed that whole section out, is so good.
I mean, like, the story is better. That's for sure.
The story is way better. Yeah, they had Jax and his story way better. Like they deal with Sonya and let you see Sonya's story way better. Like there was so many aspects that were so much better in that. And I get that it's a web series and so you have pieces, but like these guys had a shoestring budget with a web series that they didn't know what was going to make any money. It was basically like a backdoor pilot for them to try to like reboot Mortal Kombat. And then they finally like pull the trigger on rebooting Mortal Kombat, and this is their take. They're just like this weak storyline, and you gotta have your magic tattoo so you can have your magic powers, so you can do magic stuff with your powers.
So bad.
I'm like, what if like some random like thug on a street just like shot Sonya or shot like Jax like in a street mugging and he died? Like, does he get like the mark? Like, he's like a crappy fighter. Yeah, and he's gonna have to try to like what's his magical power gonna be? I can like steal people's wallets without them noticing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't. Some of it doesn't make any sense. Like,
not at all. Yeah, the way that the fact that you can basically get the power transferred to you in that way and stuff is just super weird.
Yeah, and then Liu Kang's like, I got mine because I just murdered some guy.
Yeah.
I just killed some guy and I got it. And it was like, what did you kill? And he's like, don't worry about it. I just killed a guy. I didn't like him and he's dead now. And you're like, wow, okay, that's super dark. You're supposed to be like a pacifist monk.
Man. If they are gonna do a second one, they need to get a better writer. They do. They absolutely need to.
I feel bad because I'm all for new writers and people trying new things. I really am. It's just this dude wasn't the guy. He just no,
not the guy from Mortal Kombat. At least, I mean, no, he might be fine doing some other stuff. Like, I don't know, maybe a kids show or something, or I don't know something, but maybe like I don't know, maybe like some animated like I don't know, Transformers kids show or something, or something like that. But I don't know. I'm looking at it like Greg Russo was the main writer.
Simon McQuoid was the director, and he literally his background was directing commercials, and this was like his first movie.
Yeah, this is Greg Russo's first screenplay too.
Really?
Yeah. So basically, they made the mistake of Aragoning this movie. Because that's exactly what they did with Aragon too, back in like 2006. I'm trying to remember who the director was of Aragon, but that's exactly what happened with Aragon too. So Aragon was a movie that a lot of people were very excited about and stuff, but for some reason they decided that they were going to get Stefan Fangmeyer, what's his name, is the director of Aragon, and he before Aragon, he never directed a movie ever in his life. Ever. And literally, like, to this day, Aragon is the only thing that he has directed. Before that, he was a visual effects guy. He was like a visual effects supervisor, and he like the movie was just horrible. It was terrible. Like
Yeah.
you can't put these guys like this on these huge movies like this, you know?
No.
Like
And I listen, I'm all for taking a shot. Like, I
yeah,
mean, there are guys that like Neil Blomkamp, like
yeah.
he got a risk taken with him with Peter Jackson. Peter
But they
Jackson
have at
saw something in the
least
guy.
but they at least have something to show before
Yeah.
they get to that big movie, you know?
But I'm looking at this like David Callahan was the other guy that wrote this movie. Like he has co-writing credits on this
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
He wrote Doom, which was another failed comic book or a video game adaptation. He wrote the Expendables 1 and 2, which are like okay, but they're not known for how great their stories are. He wrote 2014's Godzilla. Ant-Man, the first Ant-Man, he rewrote Ant-Man, which he kind of ruined Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Zombieland Double Tap, Wonder Woman 1984. He wrote Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings, and the new he also co-wrote the new Into the Spider-Verse movie coming up.
Oh wow.
So like this dude's got some serious chops.
Yeah.
I'm like, why didn't you notice how bad this screenplay was? Like
that's wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I think putting I will say this, get a really solid guy that can write a good screenplay and get a new director or get a new screenwriter and get a seasoned director that, get two people that can work together. Like I loved, I once heard a story from the guy that wrote Arrival, the screenwriter that wrote the movie Arrival.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how, he wrote the movie and he sent it to Denis to look at, Denis Villeneuve, the guy that directed it, to look at, and he wasn't sure if Denis was going to be happy about it. He wasn't sure how it was going to be taken. And Denis loved it and was like, hey, like, not only do I love it, but I want to know more about like this. I want to know about this. I want to know about the scene where like the guy whispers something into Amy Adams' ear. He's like, what did he say to her? I got to know. And so the guy had to like actually figure out what he said. And like Denis like worked with his screenwriter to actually craft a great story. So the director was on board with what the vision of the storyteller had. And the storyteller felt like he could offer the depth that a director maybe didn't have time to get into.
Right.
But like, I'm looking at this guy, the guy that wrote Arrival. He had he wrote A Nightmare on Elm Street, the reboot, Final Destination, The Thing, the remake of The Thing. Like he wrote a bunch of like horror movies, and then he wrote Arrival. Like he did, and he did a phenomenal job. But you already had a director who was established, considered one of the greatest working directors today. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just not hard.
Yeah.
Not only that, but like literally Cole, the guy that plays Cole, his dad is a stunt coordinator for like a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, the reason John Wick worked so well is because you had a bunch of stuntmen that had a good idea and had been working in the industry long enough to say, hey, we know how to do all the other stuff. Now let's see if we can tackle a good story. And they did both.
Yeah.
So,
they nailed it. So
nailed it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's apparent. Like grab one of those dudes to write Mortal Kombat. Like it's not hard. Like,
Yeah.
Like it's funny because so this is going to be totally off on our tangent here because Ben's not here to stop me. So, Paul W.S. Anderson, he's a director. This guy directed the first Mortal Kombat. He also directed like a bunch of the Resident Evil movies. He directed Alien versus Predator. He also wrote a bunch of these too. He was the one that wrote, directed, and produced the new Monster Hunter movie that everybody hated. Like the guy isn't known for like writing great movies, and typically his writing is criticized, but the guy's still working. Like bring his ass in here to write the screenplay. Like
probably would have been better.
That's what I'm saying, dude. And he wrote Monster Hunter, like, and nobody liked that movie, but they liked it more than this. Like, there was just the thing that I'm most frustrated about with the Mortal Kombat. No part of the movie stood out well enough for me to go, at least this part of it I really liked.
Exactly.
There were moments that were good, but the moments that are good are moments that are taken directly from the video game and adapted to a screen. And that's all we wanted.
Yeah.
Like, it's not hard. This isn't rocket science, people. Like,
exactly. But because so much of the other movie was so weak, it didn't give any payoff for those good moments either. Like,
no,
it didn't elevate those good moments at all.
No, not at all.
And then you know, it's just surrounded by really weak, terrible fights, and it's just there's nothing epic about the movie. There's nothing memorable about the movie, and there's absolutely nothing that makes me want to go back and watch this movie ever. So
I don't know that I ever will.
yeah,
Unless WB wants to hire me to write the next movie, and
yeah,
then I'll go back and rewatch it to make sure that I do everything that that guy didn't.
yeah, exactly.
And like literally, if I just write a movie that's the exact opposite of that movie, it'll be the best movie ever written.
Yeah,
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 best movie ever written. It's not even hard. Yep. Yeah. No. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. It's just rough. I mean, like
Yeah.
I'm obviously joking a little bit, but like
Yeah.
also kind of amped up because I mean, like it's weird to me that we've had like there's such a difficulty that Hollywood has such a hard time writing, adapting like video games to movies. Like some of these
Yep.
are like obvious, like Sonic did well partially because they redesigned the character and were like,
Yeah.
oh, we love you, we love you fans, and kissed us on the mouth and gave us a little tongue and slipped $1
Yeah.
into our pocket and we are like, hey,
Yeah.
going to see this freaking movie.
Oh yeah, we love you now.
Hey, listen, man, you listen to us. But like that's part of it.
Yeah.
The fans felt listened to. But the other part of it was like it was a fun movie, and they actually did a good job of like doing Sonic justice. Like
it actually is like it's actually like a decent fun movie, you know. It's something that my daughter's asked to rewatch a couple times, and
same. You know, my kids did it, and I never cringed when I'm like, oh, Sonic again. I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't just Jim Carrey like eating up scenery. It was all of it. It was just a fun movie. And they even did like a human element to the movie without it feeling like what is going on here. Like they explain it. And
they made the story at least like watchable and something that you want to continue to, you know, follow along with Sonic and everything else. So
absolutely. Like I look forward to a sequel with Sonic. Like I don't know that like it may be terrible.
Yeah.
But it also could be a lot of fun. Who knows?
Yeah.
Like you know, but you know, it's you know, you look at things like, you know, obviously the most notable example, like Super Mario Bros. And like what an absolute disaster that movie is. And like but most of the time when you listen and read about like these projects and what went wrong, almost always they always pick some director that decides, you know what, I want my version, my vision of this universe to come to light. And it's always like some weird thing. I'm like, no, you don't need to get artsy, man. Like people will love you if you just do like a freaking good, like half decent story with their favorite characters in it.
And that's something that actually sticks out to me because Peter Jackson, when he was making Lord of the Rings, he repeatedly said that he didn't want to make Lord of the Rings his Lord of the Rings. He wanted to make it Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. He wanted to actually follow Tolkien's vision for what he had for that universe and for that story. And that's why those movies are amazing, you know? And imagine if some of these writers and directors for these video games movies decided to do the same thing, you know? Like
forever.
Yeah.
Peter Jackson's name will be immortalized in Hollywood for creating one of the greatest trilogies and adapting like some of the most popular books of all time so well.
Yeah.
Like there's nobody that can say the Lord of the Rings movies are not well done, well directed, everything, but they're faithful adaptations. Like you know, and yeah, that's the thing. And it's weird because when you look at even like comic book stories and comic book storylines and stuff where like they've been adapted, those don't seem to be difficult. They don't seem to have any trouble being like, hey, we adapted this thing to a screen or whatever. Like
exactly. Yeah. It's not that hard. It's not that deep.
No, like literally, like the thing that I think that some of the thing that pisses me off about like Mortal Kombat in general, they literally played out some of like Hanzo Hasashi's story, like Scorpion's story in the beginning.
Yeah.
So you even like delved into the lore enough to know how to like do a great scene with him and start the movie out like that, and then deviated into this weird new thing that had nothing to do with Mortal Kombat. Like
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And seriously, also I don't know that I can say enough. Like some movies have like casting and it's questionable. I just cannot get over how bad the casting was in this movie. I really like a lot of the actors that are in here. The other things that I've seen them in, I've liked them a lot. But like the guy that played Shang Tsung, no.
Yeah.
I liked him in what he was in, and he was actually in what's it called? He was in The Dark Knight. He played Lao in The Dark Knight.
Oh yeah, right. Yep.
But like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, they just didn't feel like they a lot of them felt just super awkward and kind of like not connected with their characters at all.
Yeah.
And yeah,
well,
I don't know. It was just super weird. It was weird.
The actor that plays him in the movie, the 1995 movie, Kerry. Let me make sure I get his name right because I want to get these guys' names right. Kerry Hiroyuki Tagawa. Yeah, he was the guy that played Shang Tsung in the first movie. Dude, he killed it.
Yeah,
he he did such a great job of portraying this character in a movie that is not considered like the greatest movie adaptation ever, but was like decent.
Yeah,
that he actually like changed the way that they portrayed that character in the games. He literally like actually voices Shang Tsung in a bunch of the Mortal Kombat games, and they even changed the character's likeness to look more like that guy. That's how good of an actor that guy, like how great of a job he did.
Yeah.
He even plays Shang Tsung in the Mortal Kombat Legacy reboot. They were like, in the web series, they got the guy to come back. And I was like, listen, you can't go wrong. Just bring the dude back.
Yeah.
Like, he's absolutely going to, and they're like, no, let's just bring this other guy in who just didn't do as well. And like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, this guy just didn't seem to, Chin Han. I hope I'm spelling his name right. I'm saying his name right. Like, you know, I've seen him in some things.
Yeah.
But he's never been in anything that made me go like, oh man, he's amazing. But like, he just didn't see, he kind of felt like he was calling it in. He felt like he was phoning it in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was bothersome.
Yeah. And I think it could definitely be on him, but also the writing for Shang Tsung was awful as well.
Yeah.
And that didn't help too. Yeah. So, I mean, he basically just, you know, walked around and made threats and then sucked the soul out of
he sure
Kao
sucked
Long and stuff and everything else.
Like even that scene that with like the sucking of the guy's soul, like dude, in the original movie, it's like this intense, like kind of scary moment where he's like, your soul is mine. And he's like chewing up the scenery.
Yeah.
And it looks like a video game moment. And in this movie, it looked like he was taking a dump and like having a really hard time. He was like,
yeah,
I'm sucking your soul out, and I'm like, it kind of looks like you're pooping. And it also like it looks like this is an extremely painful, not happy experience for you.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
So why even do it? Like, yeah,
it's freaking weird, man. This whole movie is just so weird.
This is a train wreck.
Yeah.
Like, listen, this movie fatality, the franchise, it's on its own. Like, maybe that's what it was they were going for.
Yeah, maybe.
Get to the end of the movie, it's just like fatality. And you're like, what? And they're like, good luck watching another one of these movies. Yeah.
Man.
Yep.
Yeah, nobody won with this movie. The fans didn't win. Mortal Kombat didn't win. Nobody won.
Nope.
So, yikes.
Nope. Bad.
Yeah, it is really bad. And, you know, it just goes back to one of our biggest frustrations that you and I continue to express is that the writing is just so crappy in Hollywood in a lot of ways. And everything just feels really half-assed with a lot of the things that Hollywood does. And, you know, it could have been great. It could have been good. You know, the movie could have at least been decent and fun. And it was none of that. So, yeah.
No. Really frustrating.
Yeah.
Really frustrating. I just... You know, I don't feel like there was, I don't know. I just don't feel like there was a really, like, I feel like there was a lot more that you could have, like, there was a lot you had to do to make it not good.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it wasn't difficult to make it decent, at least.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if everybody just walked away going, like, it was actually pretty good, it was fun, I had a good time, like, I would be fine with that. I would be fine. I'm not expecting Mortal Kombat to blow my mind with phenomenal storytelling.
Yeah.
Like, I just wanted like a decent movie with good fights, and like I got nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not okay. Like I got like 2 decent scenes, but like I have to constantly reiterate there were 2 decent scenes, so the movie wasn't a complete failure. But the movie was a complete failure because all I can think about is the 2 decent scenes, and I forgot about the rest of the movie.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Sad. But it is what it is, I guess. So
freaking Ben over there talking about how good this movie is.
Oh, he loved it. He loved the father aspect. The father
came back full circle. So sometimes I don't even know if Ben actually liked the father aspect, or if he like read it somewhere and was like, "Hey, yeah, this aspect was really
yeah, I like that.
this touched me.
I'm a father, Dan.
I'm a father." Yeah, I don't know,
Which
man.
even you brought up a good point when we were talking about it a little bit last night. You know, that could have been done so much better by making the father aspect if you really wanted that Scorpions thing, because he literally lost his child. So, you know, that could have been really interesting to dive into, like, I don't know, the guilt that Scorpion felt, or, you know, the anger that he felt for that, or whatever else, you know, not being able to be there to protect his child. You know, all of that stuff could have been amazing stuff that could have been used in the movie to actually give the movie something, some depth or something.
Yeah.
And literally the father aspect of the story with Cole Young and stuff isn't even anything. It's just him being like, "Oh, my daughter's my trainer and uppercut, dad," and that's about it. And it's like, what am I supposed to do with that?
Yeah, like literally, and as such a great father he is, like, everybody's standing outside, and like Sub-Zero, this is when Sub-Zero first shows up in the movie, and it starts snowing, and everybody's like, "Oh wow, it's snowing outside," and he's like standing inside his diner with his wife getting food, and his daughter's sitting outside by herself, and he waits until like it starts hailing like snowballs and like breaking windows and stuff, to run outside to grab his daughter. I'm like, bro,
imagine, exactly. Like
at any time and point you go, something's not right. It's snowing in the middle of California, like, or in the middle of wherever they were.
I'm just gonna watch my daughter.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stare out and there and go, "Wow, honey, isn't that pretty?" Oh, snap.
I mean, imagine if they could have made the father aspect so much better in the story. Imagine if like Sub-Zero, like, I don't know, kidnapped his daughter or something like that, and then that was the thing that spiraled Cole Young into finding out about Mortal Kombat or something. And you could have made it like a whole like Taken-esque type of situation, sort of, and stuff. And that could have been badass. That would have been cool. Would have at least, you know, given the story a little bit of an oomph. So
like, seriously, or let that be the reason that Scorpion comes back. There's like a lot of things you could have done to just tie everything all together if you really want to go with the family aspect, but no, they didn't do any of that. They're just like,
I mean, there's no stakes. That's basically, I mean, you know, his family gets away and they're all fine, and they go literally in some house in the middle of nowhere and they're cool. You know?
He's like, "Hey, go hide in this cabin while this Frost Ninja tries to kill you." Like, he's like, "He won't find you in this cabin." I'm like, "Do you guys just own a cabin?" Because like earlier, you were talking about how you needed like $200 from a MMA fight to even like pay your bills, and you're just like, "Nah, man, go live in a cabin." We have this cabin sitting somewhere that we have like enough food and water to live in for weeks while I go train in this other worldly realm. Like, what? It didn't like. But that's the thing. Once again, it creates so many complex questions and like doesn't have time to answer those questions that it's unnecessary. Like, nobody gives a crap whether or not Cole has money to pay his rent, when like what we want to see is like two dudes beating the hell out of each other, and then one of the dudes rip the other dude in half and pull his spine out of his butthole. That's what I want to see.
And not Simple even that was that great. So
I want my spine buttholes, man. Like, like, even like in the first movie, the original movie, like there are moments where they call out things like that. Like, like there's a scene where like Kano fights a guy and does the whole like rip the heart out of his chest and stuff. And like Shang Tsung is sitting there and he goes, he's watching the fight because he's Shang Tsung and gets off on this, and he goes like, "Kano wins," and it's like, oh, that's a callback to the game. And it is cringy, but it's like a fun cringy, like, awesome, he called back to the video games and stuff. In this one, like, Kano like rips a guy's heart out, and he stands there for like just half a beat too long, and he goes like, "Kano fucking wins," and then like you're like, okay, well, like, why would you say that? Like, nobody just says things like that. And then like at one point, Kai Lang or whatever his name is with the hat. I don't remember his name now, because I'm so disappointed in that.
Kung Lao, right?
Kung Lao, yes. Wow, forgive me, Kung Lao. I should have known that. He does like his cool fatality move and everything. And you're like, wow, and he goes like, "Fatality." And I'm like, what are you doing? Why did you say that? Like, nobody says that.
So random.
It's just so random. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, even the finish him in the movie, like, comes from a guy, like, beating the crap out of somebody, and the guy's laying there, like, defeated, and then, like, Shang Tsung's like, finish him. So, like, there's, like, moments, and, like, they were smart enough as writers to be like, hey, if we add these moments in, it'll tie back to the video game. It's, like, a little bit of nostalgia. None of that. None of that in this. It was just like all lip service to like fan service. Yeah. And then go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that's a pretty good testament to show just how crappy Hollywood has gotten, where the film from 1995 is in a lot of ways a way better Mortal Kombat movie than the film in 2021, which should have been a way better movie because of the technological advancements and everything else that we have.
Yeah.
But
the technological advancements, the advancements in writing that we have, also the fact that you literally have a movie to look at as a blueprint.
Yeah.
That was pretty well received. And then a movie that was so badly received that you go, any kind of like relation to this, bad. Stay away. And they didn't do that. They just, I felt like they didn't learn anything. They were just like, man, we're just doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, man.
Did we just rant about combat for almost an hour? That's how bad this movie was. And
yikes.
Yeah.
Oh, at least Ben liked it, so that's good.
Well, Ben's not here though, so I think that's a testament to how much his opinion means.
Yeah,
he wasn't even able to be here to help you guys and talk to you guys about stuff.
He actually didn't even want to come on to this one because he didn't want to have to try to defend the movie. But that it would have made the podcast more fun. But it is what it is.
Well, listen, I would have been fine if Ben came on and said, "Listen,
if
I get that it wasn't that good or whatever, but I liked it."
Yeah.
Okay. Cool, man.
Let's talk about it.
Bad stuff. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
That's not what. No.
He didn't want to talk about it.
I think this was really good, and I think this is phenomenal. And Cole is such a great character, and I don't want to talk about it in the podcast.
Yeah. You don't need to be scared, Ben. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, Ben. There's nothing to be scared of. Hey, Ben. It's okay.
Anyway, with that being said, we're gonna wrap it up there. Let us know in the comments what you think about Mortal Kombat. What do you think about the movie? And if you loved it, that's fine. Just tell us. We can talk about it. It's totally fine.
If you like it, don't be scared. We're not gonna rip on you for your opinions.
Yeah.
Just Ben.
Yeah. So thank you everyone for coming out and listening to this. We appreciate it. If you are new to here, please subscribe, leave a review, all of that good stuff. We'd appreciate that a lot. And we will talk to you all next week. Have a great week. Bye.
Bye.